nothing came without the word. The word was first. It was
Let
the
there
egg.
be light. And there was
Let there be light, right. Yes. And I believe that our words are very powerful. They have a frequency. They have a vibration, and they affect the world around us. And we don't have to be very powerful. Our words are powerful for us.
Oh, yeah.
And
So they're speaking the beginnings. They're speaking new beginnings. Like, God made the day and the night and said, let there be light. And so there was, and the stars and the moon. And yeah.
And God said, and God said, and God said, because he used his words.
I love that.
And yeah. And I feel like that we can speak curses or we can speak blessings, and whatever we speak will manifest in our lives. Whatever. We were still paying on the note.
I think it was at the car you were sitting in when your life changed, when you're sitting in the driveway listening to Christy Sheldon with somebody else's Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Amazing. So, here we are then. Here you've almost lost everything, but in actual fact, you gained your life back, because you can see that, I always say, I've got someone very close to me who has the wrong tenants in their house, and I have assured this person that it never ends up well. I mean, I know that when people are in that rocky addiction space, it never ends well. The only way it can ever end well is if what happens to you happens to others.
My name is Terry Messenger, and I am
Hey, and welcome to
Hey, well, welcome to this week's edition of Terry Messenger's Genius Zone. I'd love to introduce Spider Woman, but that's not really her name. No pun intended, but we're going to go into the power of the grandmother spider in this exciting show. This is going to be an absolute epic journey through the darkest of valleys and out into the other side of paradise. And as I introduce the beautiful, the powerful, and the most authentic, transparent coach here, Ethel Smith, I just want to say, welcome everyone, and welcome to you, Ethel. Where are you on this earth right now, lovely lady?
Dallas, Texas.
Woohoo! And we've got some stories about Dallas, Texas, a little later in this show, which is going to be quite riveting. So I love to always begin by a closed eye meditation, which our listeners are also going to benefit. So with no further ado, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, down shut, and I want you to look up through the crown of your head, and I want you to take a deep breath in through your nose. Now, as you breathe in, I want you to imagine that you're about to exhale any nerves, any tension, any fear or doubt, and breathe it out. Now, I want you to now drop your shoulders, relax, and I want to ask that your guides will completely surround you, that the golden light is going to quantum leap you into the space and the place that is not only going to impart your powerful words, your words being your wand, into each and every person on this podcast, but it's going to give you and every listener that potent power to divinely be inspired. So I want you to imagine that you're rising up outside of your present self here and now, and you are going to land in a space after this podcast. So therefore, when people come out after the podcast, they're going to benefit from your words. I want you to just allow the magic of the words to have brought this new feeling of power, this new feeling of energy, this new feeling that is life-changing. And as a result of having this experience straight after this podcast, and for anyone listening, I want you to know that there's going to be a new frequency, there's going to be an incredible inspiration, and there's going to be this incredible, authentic, divine power all around you that gives you the greatest inspiration. Now I want you to integrate it back to where we are so we can start this beautiful presentation with absolute earnesty, transparency, and potent power. Bringing it in 3, 2, and 1, and opening your eyes. So let the show begin. So everyone that's going to be listening on to this is going to have a very powerful and profound experience after hearing this show. And, you know, this is really a journey of alchemy. It's a journey of going through the shadows into the light. And, you know, you have a pretty gripping story. And the dark valleys that you have had to go through where, you know, you've gone from the heights of living in I guess, like the rich and famous. So you've been in that position where you've had the friends, you've had the riches, the clothes, the car, the house. Can you describe what it was like when you were living in that kind of paradigm? Like, what was it like spending money? What was it like having all of these riches?
Well, it was fast. It was very fast. The money came fast and it went fast. And I had a lot of friends as long as I was buying, which I usually was, unless they were buying. But if they were buying from me. So there was always a lot of money. And so
currency, isn't it? It's buying and selling. So whatever we're buying and selling. But in this case, it was illicit. And
yes.
From that point where you were living in this illicit lifestyle, it just goes to show that having wealth and all of the money really doesn't buy a great life. But, you know, just enlighten me a little bit. What sort of clothing were you wearing? What sort of home were you living in? And tell us about even where you were rubbing shoulders with rock stars.
Yeah, some of my best friends at that time were rock stars, and they bought a lot of stuff from us, and we gave them a lot of stuff too. But you know, it was always a good time, and I had a real nice house in the suburbs, and we could have stewarded it better, but we didn't. So
it's sad, you know, just bringing it back to the rock stars, because obviously we're not going to mention any names, just, you know, even though they're famous and most people know them. However, it's interesting that rock stars are having to participate in, you know, illicit drugs and in those elements. And, you know, I was actually just having this story with someone not so long ago where sometimes when they've got that mountaintop experience, they don't know where else to go. And I think when we recognize the reason why people do what they do, it's almost a big part of the healing journey. But, you know, for these people that have the mountaintop experience, what do you think they're searching for in the drug? Like, take a rock star, for example, who has to have that perhaps to perform, or, you know, just to live life. Well, what's going on for them?
Well, everybody gives a different reason. Some people, my drug of choice, I chose because I was in a lot of pain. I had done hair for a long, long time, and I had aches that had aches, and I had, you know, and when I did my drug of choice, it took away the pain for me. But then you get caught up in, you know, the business side of it. Where I saw the money that was going through, I was like, oh, I got to get in on that. So of course I invested right away, and that right there is a seduction, you know. And there is a seduction in the substances, and I think that the substances, we feel like we have to have them around because we're rich. I mean, that's kind of what I feel like. That was kind of the idea. Well, we got money, so of course we have drugs. You know?
Yeah, so money and drugs is very seductive. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes. Yes,
yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
And I think that everyone comes with their own reasons and their own shadows, and they're medicating their shadows.
Yeah.
And it's a means of escape. And sometimes it's just a nice feeling. But you get caught up in that nice feeling, and you want to try it, and each time it becomes more and more elusive.
And you know,
And that's
you
where the
hear
despair
stories
comes
like,
from.
you know, for example, Liam Payne, you know, from One Direction. I mean, a beautiful, you know, a beautiful life, a beautiful talent, and he had such, you know, the lyrics of his songs were just so, probably some of the most purest. And, you know, just listening to his music, you know, gave me the idea that he was a very pure person, and yet obviously too he was in a world of pain, and that was being blocked out by the drug. But then obviously you went on a wild ride, and that ride, after even rubbing shoulders with the rich and famous, everything came crashing down. And it was almost like you lost everything. But, you know, this is a story about how you lost everything and gained your life back. So let's talk about the roller coaster, the journey that you went on, because I know this is going to be very inspiring, especially for those people that are caught up in, you know, we've all got wrong patterns in one way or the other. But talk about that rocky roller coaster and how everything came to a crash.
Well, ultimately we had some roommates. They invited some other people in. Some people moved in without our permission and had been living with us for days before we knew it. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but with all the traffic that was happening, and there was just a lot, there was more than my husband and I could manage going on in our house. And it was just wild. And eventually, of course, furniture disappeared, everything in the house disappeared, my clothes disappeared. Someone moved in and took our business from us. And we're still there. We were still there. The house is still in his name, and we're still making mortgage payments, you know, and this is happening. And well, ultimately the house was gone, because, you know, when you don't have anything else left to take, where are you gonna take the house? So that's how it went. And we stayed with a relative for a while, and then that relative got tired of us, and I couldn't work at that point. I was so tired and so sick, and all the drama that had happened in the house. I was held at gunpoint at one point in time. We were robbed. It just got crazier and crazier until, you know, it exploded. And then we stayed with this relative. And then I imagine I still had the energy of all that explosion on me. and my husband too. And he even got another job. He got a pretty good job, but he went, I mean, you know, he lost his job. We lost everything except our car. And we were still paying on the note.
I think it was that the car you were sitting in when your life changed, when you're sitting in the driveway listening to Christy Sheldon with somebody else's Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Amazing. So, you know, here we are then. Here you've almost lost everything, but in actual fact, you gained your life back, because you can see that, you know, I always say, you know, I've got someone very close to me who has the wrong tenants in their house, and I have assured this person that it never ends up well. I mean, I know that when people are in that rocky addiction space, it never ends well. The only way it can ever end well is if what happens to you happens to others. They have the opportunity outside of death to actually crash, burn, and create themselves from the ground up. So let's talk about the experience that has now taken you to such high new levels of everything you can do for others, where you were sitting in the driveway listening to Christy Sheldon. Talk us through the experience so our listeners can also come to know sometimes what it takes when you're first taking those baby steps to completely renewing your life.
Yeah, I sat in that driveway and I listened to that master class. And then I found another one to sign up for, and I listened to that, and I found another one to sign up for, and I listened to that. And then I went through the whole, like everything that this lady had, Christy Marie Sheldon, yeah, everything she had that was free. I went and found a YouTube channel, like a bootleg YouTube channel that had some of her master classes and her lectures in them. And I was like, wow, this is a really different way of thinking. And she started talking about how we have blocks and we make them ourselves and we can get rid of them. And I said, blocks? Well, I'm pretty blocked. And I guess I had this revelation at that time. We were ultimately sleeping in a tent, and we lost the car. And I mean, it was unbelievable. Then somehow Mark got a new job, and we ended up in a hotel. And I started listening to the things that Christy Marie Sheldon was saying, and she was saying that sometimes we have these beliefs that aren't authentically ours. We think that they are, but they aren't. And I really didn't know myself well enough to know that I really felt a certain way about something. And I had blocked myself off, you know, from myself because of all the things that had happened and all the drama. And I was just kind of on like a superficial autopilot. And I just, I started realizing that when I started going inside and asking myself, what do I like? What's my favorite color? What TV shows do I like? These are questions that I had to think about because I didn't know. And so I started to get to know.
Basics are the best.
Yeah. And, you know, I had blocked it all out with the drugs and the drama. You know, that's enough to, you know, and then I had a broken family relationships because of all my broken life. And I mean, it just spiraled, and I forgot who I was. I really just forgot who I was. And I had to become reacquainted with myself. And once I became reacquainted with myself, then I started thinking about what made me happy. And I started I started to see my value. I started to see who I was. I started to see, you know, where I was standing. And that was huge. Like I had been completely unaware. And I started to look around and see that most of the people around me were living from that energy too. And it was rare that I find someone who was truly in touch with themselves. And I found there were days when I found myself feeling like a stranger to myself. So it was like an ebb and flow. There was a rhythm to it. It would come and go. And it took me some time. We ended up in a hotel for 2 years. We lived in an hotel motel for 2 years, and we paid weekly. And it cost as much as an apartment. And then finally I got a job doing hair again, which I didn't want to do. And excuse me, I started doing hair again, and I made enough money to get us with our combined income to get us into an apartment, put down a deposit and get into an apartment. And we stayed in that apartment, and we mended fences and made good decisions. And that's when we finally decided to get a marriage license after 9 years of being together.
That is so good. So it sounds like you went on this journey with your husband, and you are definitely one of the more blessed ones, because sometimes when people are on that track and that real dark, slippery slope, one can move away and then the other one, and as a result, it brings them so far apart. But in this case, you have very much, moved forward together. And I can see now from your own program of what you are offering to other people, because we're going to talk about that a little bit in a while too, because you are helping people to process themselves. You talk about how you look through the eyes of people, and it's almost like you see their soul, and they feel like there's no judgment, and some of their biggest burdens and their deep-seated wounds are actually something that you can transmute. Now, you have this specialty where you can transmute people's pain into power. And one of the elements is one of your clients who came to see you. You helped her through her hair. Now, this is not unusual for me, because I have actually worked with hairdressers and, certified them in the work that I do, which is very similar to Christy Sheldon. And as a result, they've gone on to being hair therapists. So they're so much more than just a hairdresser. Well, it's not just a hairdresser. Gosh, we should worship these people. You know what I'm saying? There's so much more to that story around the hair and what that means. So let's go deep now into the hair story and what you have got as that gift that can see into that.
Well, I had been doing hair for about 25 years at that point in time. And this young lady, I could tell what she'd been doing by looking at her hair. I have a gift. I don't even know if it's a gift. It's just a skill. You come to recognize certain things after looking at something for so long. And I can tell you if you have diabetes. I can tell you if your thyroid's out of whack. I can tell you if you're eating right, if you're sleeping.
That is a gift, Ethel. That is a gift.
Okay. But I can tell just by looking at your hair what's going on with you. And this young lady, she had been partaking in illicit substances. And so I I could tell, and she wasn't taking care of herself. And she was asking me for advice on how to take care of her hair. And I told her, well, for you, the most important thing is to eat twice, eat at least once a day, preferably twice, take your vitamins, drink, and sleep some.
So not eat
drink
3
water.
times, you suggested once or twice rather than 3 times a day?
Yeah, because this particular substance kind of curbs your appetite in a huge way. As long as you're getting in some nutrition, you got something moving through you, you're good to go. you know.
I asked
But
that
that's,
question because I only eat twice a day, and that's just me. I don't have breakfast. So it goes, I mean, you know, despite everything they say about eating breakfast, I don't eat breakfast, and I feel that it is, you know, I'm trim and I am healthy and I eat 2 meals a day. So I think a lot of the rules that people make up can be fallacies, but that's why I asked. So really you were telling her to do that so that she could make small steps rather than telling her, oh, you've got to eat 3 meals a day. So rather than doing that, by advising her, look, if you have 1 or 2 good meals a day, that's going to bring back the nutrients and give you back your health. Is that right?
yes. And I told her, you know, if you're going to continue in this lifestyle, these are the things you're going to have to do. And that's really all I said to her. And she said, she connected with me over it. She was like, well, I appreciate you saying that to me. She goes, I'm going to change the things that I'm doing. And I mean, there was definitely an understanding that we were talking about substances, you know, that I knew what she was doing and that I knew how to take care of her hair while she was doing that. And she said, well, I think that I'm going to change my habits. And I said, well, okay. And then 6 weeks later, which is when I told her to come back, because that's when she was going to need a trim. She comes and sits in my chair and she tells me that she and her boyfriend stopped the drugs. They decided to get married. She's pregnant and they're going to church.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, whoa. And she said, really, honestly, it was you. She said, you're the one that got me to thinking about it. She said, I should take care of myself. This is not taking care of myself. This is not loving my man. We're not doing love together this way. She goes, we can live life and love together instead of this. I was like, that all came from me telling you this to eat.
I tell you
And
what,
take it
as a hairdresser, you ought to have a tagline, the science of your hair in becoming healthy from the inside out. I'm just going to share that because it's dropped, and I know it's a beautiful program, but I feel that that has been a bit of a transmission that's come through. So what happened to this lady? Like in 6 short weeks, her life transformed. So what was she doing 6 weeks later?
Well, she was eating right. She was eating 3 and 4 times a day. She was crazy hungry because she was pregnant, and she was engaged to be married, and they were planning their wedding. And she invited me to church. Well, I'm not a church person, so I said I declined. But she invited me to church, and she was just so much happier. And she just quit doing the stuff, and she started eating and taking her vitamins and sleeping at night and making good choices. And it just had, you know, it just that one little thing changed everything.
That's amazing. And is that the same client that you helped where she not only changed her whole lifestyle, but she went on, got married, you know, expecting a baby, got a house?
Yes,
Is that the
that's
same
the
one?
one. Yes, that's the one.
Wow.
And she came to see me for about a year after that. And then I think I moved on to another salon, but and she didn't follow me. But yeah, I got to know her for about a year. I saw her about 8 times that year. You know, she come about every 6 weeks.
So, you know, if
So,
people are fortunate enough to live in Dallas and close by, this woman can change your life through your hair. And if you aren't in Dallas and you're in Australia, like myself, then she will be able to speak into your life because we have this beautiful thing called Zoom, and we have FaceTime and all these other new generational, you know, resources. So maybe, you know, obviously I'm not in your salon. I'm sitting here in front of you. maybe you can tell a story about my hair and show a bit of a snippet about, you know, maybe whatever you're prepared to give. Now, if you want me to put my hair down, I mean, it's obviously colored, so I don't know whether that's going to change anything.
Let's see. Can you come a little closer?
I can. I'll just move the microphone.
Is your hair naturally wavy?
No, it's actually straight and it's hard to curl. Very stubborn, very, very hard to curl.
You use products?
I have got product in my hair a little bit, but not a lot. But it's just because I washed it last night and I did put a couple of little curlers in it to give it that wave. But it's very, how do you say it? Very stubborn hair. Very stubborn, will not curl easily, and it's very prone to being quite frizzy. And it's fine, and but it's still good hair.
It is good hair. Yes. You like to cover your shoulders.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, you do.
Okay. I have no idea why I do that, but yeah, maybe that's true.
Well, in my spirit, I'm seeing a covering over your head, like your hair, like, and over your shoulders, head and shoulders. Telling me head and shoulders, because you have a good head on your shoulders. You're welcome. And I see something between your eyebrows, and I don't think it's just your third eye, but I know your third eye is really bright and open and kaleidoscopy.
What does kaleidoscope mean? Is that like we're hallucinating or dream weaving?
Have you ever seen a kaleidoscope? Have you ever looked in a kaleidoscope?
I have.
Okay, so you know how it like makes like mandalas and they change?
Like
You know?
Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds?
Yeah, but no, but not like the LSD, but just the Lucy.
Yes.
But yeah, with
Yeah.
diamonds. Yes, diamonds. There it is.
I'll look into the camera for you if that helps.
Thanks. And I see that the diamonds connect to your heart. And there's that's your, I see a diamond connection from your heart to your third eye.
Wow.
And and you're so darn healthy and strong of your mind is strong, and you got a little something finagling you in the back of your mind, but it's just a small thing, and you're
It's not
and you're
small.
mulling, and it's just a small thing, and it will probably work itself out, but you want to do it.
Huge, but I've made it small. I'm very good at making it very small.
I saw it small. Good job.
Yeah, you're
Good
seeing
job.
You are seeing it, but it's huge and it is connected with my heart. And, you know, what you're seeing is because my gift, of course, is, you know, if I didn't have the gifts and the resources that I've got, I don't know where I would be. Probably in a mental asylum, to be quite honest. Because I'm very, very good now at being able to change perception of things, because that's what I do for other people as well. But, you know, with all of the activity that's been going on in my own life, you know, my husband's health, you know, our individualization, where it doesn't make a lot of sense to a lot of people because we live individually, but I want to say it in a respectful way, that we kind of have this living arrangement where it's not always together. But I figure that life is empty and meaningless until you give it its meaning. And I need to follow my soul purpose. So that's where you're looking at I think you're seeing seeing that. So in order for me
Enter.
to really live into my soul purpose, I am called to be in the situation that I'm in, but it's been a very, I won't go on because this is not my podcast about me, but it's been a very, very rocky road. So I have to say, yes, what you've seen niggling in the back of my mind is really being put there so I can be here with you today and I can be doing what my soul is calling me to do.
Well, thank you. Yeah, so yeah, I saw it. And I'm impressed with how you managed it.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. And I want to say that I didn't see it at all on you. I saw it behind you, behind you. I didn't
That's
see it at all
interesting you
on
said
you.
behind me because timeline therapy is what I do, and I will bring a problem and I will put it behind me. I'm very, very good at doing that. So you're very in tune.
Nice. Nice. So these are the things that I see in people, and I can listen to their words also, and I can pick out the words.
Yeah, because you are all about the words being your wand, aren't you? Can you walk us through the magic of words and how meaningful it is and how a person's life can transform through their words?
Well, in the beginning was the word, and the word was, and there was nothing that was made that wasn't made without the, I'm getting it all wrong, but in the beginning there was the word. I don't know if it was written or not, but it was at least spoken, and nothing that was made or came into manifestation nothing came without the word. The word was first. It was
Let
the
there be
egg.
light, and there was
Let there be light, right? Yes. And I believe that our words are very powerful. They have a frequency. They have a vibration, and they affect the world around us. And we don't have to be very powerful. Our words are powerful for us.
Oh, yeah.
And
So they're speaking the beginnings. They're speaking new beginnings. Like, you know, God made the day and the night and said, let there be light. And so there was, and the stars and the moon. And yeah.
God said, and God said, and God said, because he used his words.
I love that.
And yeah, and I feel like that we can speak curses or we can speak blessings, and whatever we speak will manifest in our lives, whatever. And if you're looking for a certain thing in your life, the words will get it there. When you're in school and you're learning your words, what is it that you do for 15 minutes in reading class? Like 3 days a week, a spelling test.
Yes.
So if when you're writing your words, you're spelling, and we're spelling. And when we spell these things, it brings it to us. There's no way to avoid it.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That is so powerful. Now we're going to go into something very strange now. And this was my little pun that I mentioned when I introduced you at the beginning. And that was, I wanted to introduce you as Spider Woman. Now, you were petrified of spiders, as most people are. But now you have a whole different perception. And let's just talk about that perception that you now have, especially being the grandma or the grandmother spider.
Well, a couple years ago, when my grandchildren were real little, they're getting bigger, but they're still real little. Well, when I was in my addiction, let's back up a little bit. When I was in my addiction, I broke my relationships. And I broke my relationship with my son real bad. And I didn't think that, he found another family. He has brothers and all the things. And then he found a lovely wife, and now they have, altogether they have 4 kids. And yeah, that's my grandchildren. And I had amazing grandparents, and I miss them so much now. And it was heartbreaking for me to have broken this relationship with my son when he was having this beautiful family. And I had to earn my way back. I had to, I had to do something. And I'm there. We're not all the way back, but I'm there. We've made a lot of bridges recently, really good ones. And anyways, I went on this vacation, and it was about 2 years ago. And my sister-in-law set it up for me. And no, it wasn't, not 2 years ago, about a little over a year ago. And my sister-in-law set it up for me, and we went to this resort in Page, Texas, which is kind of, I guess, sort of near Austin. It's south of here. And it was called Irie Elves Treehouse. And it was a treehouse, and it was like in like 5 trees. And it was a big platform. It had a staircase, and then underneath it, it had an outdoor kitchen. It had a little outhouse off to that side, like, like as if it was a big house. And it was really cute, and I loved it. It was 100 degrees every day that weekend. We spent 3 days there, and it was over 100 degrees in the middle of the night. It was unbelievable. But the thing that was so remarkable about the place was the spiders. There were so many spiders. Oh my God. And there was this one spider that in front of the door, she would post up every night. She would build a web every night. And it was to the left-hand side of our door, the door to the treehouse, where the bedroom where we sleep. I mean, it was round. And the door was on the one side where the staircase was. And every night this little girl would come, and she would build a web, and she would watch over us at night. I mean, I started to talk to her, and I felt like she was talking back. I think spiders are pretty telepathic, and I know that I am. So anyways, I felt like I had a conversation with this little brown spider, and she told me that she and her friends were watching over us, and that we could, we'd be safe and we could sleep.
I bet you never killed another spider again after that.
No, I don't kill them. They would come in my house after I got home. They would come in my house, and I'd find them in the kitchen, and I'd find them by the back door, and I'd be like, y'all get out of the house. Just take it outside. I couldn't even, sometimes I would find a
spider's life and tell them, would they listen?
Yes, they would go outside.
I'm going to try that. I am going to try that.
Yeah, speak to them. Well, the thing that I learned about this is that they're here to serve us. That grandmother spider built the canopy to protect the humans from, the deluge that would happen if it broke. And
wow.
She brought the sun so we could have light. She serves us. She protects us.
It's interesting how even all creatures, even we have big problems with sharks over here in Australia, and it's got to the point where, some people hate them, but they are in their environment. I mean, are they really, bad when they are in their environment? And I think when even when a bee is, around and active, if you're not a threat to them, they won't sting you. But only when they perceive that you, the human, are a threat, then Mother Nature in them causes them to go into self-preservation. So tell us, how did you come to know about the grandmother spider, in the sense of, some of the power and some of the elements that are around that? Some people may understand about the grandmother spider, but what would you say to the person listening that might be going, oh my gosh, what are they talking about?
Well, grandmother spider is a Native American tradition, and she's been told the story of grandmother spider has been told by many shaman and chieftains of American Native tribes. I've in my notes, I have a list of 14 different tribes that tell the story, the tradition of grandmother spider bringing the sun, and that she's a part of most Native American traditions of creation. And Native American traditions are passed orally. So the stories are embellished certain ways, and the storyteller has a lot of creative license because it's not written. I found a bunch of stories of like children's books. Ladies were, teachers reading children's books and stuff on YouTube about grandmother spider. And there's some really beautiful depictions about how grandmother spider, she was able to climb really high so that she could be in the heavens and converse with the ancestors, which I assume the ancestors are the stars. It's oral tradition, so there's a lot of interpretation. It's open.
Wow,
But
that's so interesting. And I don't think I'll ever look at a spider in the same way again. But I have to say to you, there's something within me. I name spiders, and even when my grandson comes over, I'll say, "Oh, Fred moved the other day right over there," and there'll be Harry and there'll be Fred, and he's got this, and I'm like, what is this thing with me? Because I certainly don't do it about flies or mosquitoes, but with spiders, I do. And in fact, I was washing the bath out the other night, and I noticed that a spider went down the actual sink, and I did feel this sense within me of, I don't know, it was like some kind of a sadness. I know that's going to sound completely crazy, but maybe I am intuitive into the, obviously nature of these elements. And I just want to say also that in the chapter, you've got a book that's going to be dropping November 22nd. What's the name of the book?
Soul Codes 2.
Now, Soul Codes 2 is going to have a chapter in it that is all about this. And,
yes.
I believe that if people can get their hands on this book, it's going to be incredible, because there's a collaboration of so many alchemists, healers, and very, very spiritually profound people. And so also you have a program that lines up where you are really offering something quite profound, because you have a gift of being able to allow a person to meet themselves again to where they truly belong. So it doesn't matter whether they have lived the life of, whether they've been in that really dark place where it's caused them shame or guilt, or maybe it's just been in a place where they haven't felt their full higher self. But you've got that absolute gift of being able to help them meet with their true soul. And you're going to be teaching, in your program, you teach the influence and power of words being the wand. And I know that a lot of the work you do too aligns with, because they come into knowing their true values, they start becoming that person. Can you talk me through how that works, where their values change and then they change, and what you've seen and witnessed yourself, with that whole process?
What I see when people start to when they start to know their own value, when they get to know themselves, they start to see their own value. And when they start to see their own value, they start to exhibit behaviors that align with knowing your value, with seeing and acknowledging your own value. They just start to do things like brush their hair every day, or brush their teeth every day, or invest in a stock that they've been thinking about, or just, I'm reaching, but these are things that people start to do when they start to see their own value. They buy a membership at the car wash, and they start going to the car wash twice a week. It just depends on the person, but when a person starts to see the value that they have, they start to realize that they deserve to have creature comforts and joy, and to be cherished and to be maintained. These things come naturally once you know yourself and value yourself.
That's a big one, you know, because there are so many people that don't have enough money. And while they think it's more money they want, actually it's more self-love. It's like the spirituality of your prosperity codes that you are teaching them, that aligns with when they can embrace their self and really come into that self-love and that self-worthiness. That's when all of the other things are going to come. Now, the other part in one of your modules of your program is about embracing the wisdom of the grandmother spider, and the art of how, you know, this weaves into our lives, and with that strong connection, and realizing how the fear can be transmuted into courage and creativity. Do you feel that the grandmother spider, when you share this and impart some of these, you know, wisdoms, do you feel that there is a sense that the spider is transmuting people's fear into courage and maybe even creativity?
Absolutely. Grandmother spider builds houses. I mean, she builds houses for her grandchildren, and that takes all the things that you're talking about. It takes the skill, it takes the creativity, it takes the foresight, the force to do that. And she also, well, I told that before, you know, she hung the sun. Grandmother spider brought the sun. She hung it in the middle of the sky, in the middle of her web. And it brought light, and, you know, and keeps going. And as the white light of the sun broke open and an orange light came out, and all her grandchildren ran across the web into the earth to become our guardians and to watch over the humans who carry the word.
Wow. Oh, I love that. Oh, so very, very exciting. I just have enjoyed this time with you so much. And, you know, one of the biggest things too is that you are helping, you know, all of these people to connect with themselves, to, you know, really be that kind of person that can really embrace the archetype. And, you know, with everything that you're doing, from, you know, looking at their hair and giving them the insights, because some people go to astrologers, some people go to fortune tellers, but this is like science. This is actually happening on your body. So it is really about Ethel being able to look at your hair. And if you're fortunate enough to live in Dallas, you're going to get an internal and external transformation. If you happen to be joining her program, you're going to find out a lot about your hair that's not going to just transform your hair, but it's going to transform your entire life. So one of the other elements that I think is so great, and especially for people that perhaps they have been living their life, you know, in a way that you know what that experience is like, and they don't know how to build the simple things of self-love, self-value, and connection. Well, you not only bring that back, but you also help them to become a good steward of their money, their finances, and the things that they may have lost touch with. So, you know, you're teaching them soulful budgeting, conscious spending. And I feel that when a person is really needing to go through, you know, that whole element of, you know, coming from addiction into the real world, or just even coming from a really depressed situation, these kind of things are going to really, really, you know, help them to grow and to be powerful. And, you know, I love that you can help them to develop their mantras through the words and really just reflect on themselves. So your access and your guidance and your ability to be able to listen to your intuition and give insights is absolutely profound. But I think mostly this woman, this man, do you work with men as well, or is it mainly just women?
Mostly women.
Yeah.
I haven't worked with the men in a really long time.
Okay, so with the woman who's honoring their true value, this is going to really align with your life and your natural flow. It's also going to open up your third eye, like you saw Ethel actually seeing mine. And but there was something so much bigger. Well, she'll be able to do that with you. She'll be able to open up that space. And from there on, it's about the bespoke blueprint. So she will help you craft the life that is according to your DNA. So that's where she gets really personalized, and she'll help you to learn to weave together from your past, learning the lessons, and creating from your present into your future, one that honors your complete journey. Now, this is something that I always ask at the end of my shows, and it's a question that I always ask for the beautiful coach, healer, leader to go deep into. And that is that when we actually end this podcast in just a moment, I want you to perhaps share something before we do that, that otherwise, if you did it, would have you thinking later, I would have loved, I would have truly loved to have said that on Terry Messenger's Genius Zone podcast. Is there something inside your heart that woman out there needs to hear from you? Perhaps just a mantra, a saying, perhaps a guidance, perhaps even an encouragement for that person. What would you share as your last words?
Someone out there needs to hear that it's not real. All of that, it's a lie. Whatever it is, it's a lie. If it limits you, if it hurts you, if it scares you, and if it keeps you small, it's a lie. And you don't have to believe it.
Wow, I'm so glad I asked you that question. I've never regretted asking anybody that question yet, but that was an absolute doozy. Ethel, what can I say from my heart to yours? I just want to thank you so much for being so transparent and so incredibly encouraging and bringing the words to those people that really, really need to hear it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.